You know, sometimes I really, really wonder how and why the American Negro cannot exercise common fucking sense. Why he cannot apply basic fucking logic. Now, I'm no doubt aware that most of you have been tracking the news. So you know in New York City there's been a string of police hyperaggression towards the citizens, and more specifically minority citizens, and even more specifically Negroes. Now, I'm going to try to keep this very short and sweet. So before I really hammer on my points, I want to put this out there as a disclaimer. In no way am I condoning the police actions for using excessive force. I want to make that perfectly clear. Number two, I'm going to say this again, in case there's these freaking idiots out here who want to say I'm just trying to stick up for somebody white. In no way did I condone what the police did in the Eric Gardner situation. Hear me clearly. I'm going to say it again. I don't condone it. Number three, and most importantly, I'm going to say in this video exactly what I want to see happen, both from the perspective of the citizen and the perspective of the police, the citizens wanting, or rather, let me not say that from perspectives. What I want to see happen concerning both the citizens and the police department. Fair enough. And by the way, this video is being brought to you by Blue Electronic Cigarettes, now sold in your local corner store for $9.99. Now, my issue as of late is that most of you, when you talk politics or socio-political issues, a lot of you love to play the appeal to emotions card. And that tells me right there several things. You don't know how to look at the situation objectively. You do not know how to divorce your personal feelings from the matter at hand. In other words, you don't know how to look at things objectively. And, oh, by the way, number three, you don't know how to look at things objectively. Let me stop trying to be cute with this and just get straight to the point. A lot of times, whenever there's an issue, and most conveniently, when it's a black man or woman and the officer in question is anything non-black, the first thing you guys love to say is, what if it were you, or what if it was one of your children? Now, I'm going to push pause here to say something because this happens to me a lot recently and it's begun to piss me off. Not because I don't want to think about it, but because it has no bearing on the situation, and the fact that you're tugging at my heartstrings is only pissing me off further, because it just shows me you can't engage the substance, so you need to attack something to make me come down, if you will. If you want to talk about what if it happens to me, I'm going to let you know something straight off the cuff. Most of you motherfuckers, if I were shot down, heaven forfend, by the police in a fit of police brutality, most of you motherfuckers would not send money to my family. You would not march. No, you'd march because that's all you're good for. You'd march. But you wouldn't send anything to my wife. You wouldn't look after my son. You would not give anything to the family to ensure that my family gets a proper lawyer to see that justice gets done. So please please miss me with that fallacious argument about what if it were you and we would march for you and all this other shit, because we know damn well you Negroes wouldn't do shit, because all y'all fit to do is run your goddamn mouths like whores. That's not conjecture. That's real facts. Number 2, y'all love to pull my son into this card. My son is 9 months old. If the fact that you're going to sit there and say, well, what if it was your kid? I take it as a slight on my parenting. And since you don't know me well enough, you really shouldn't talk about my parenting skills. But enough about that. My issue is that you guys don't engage the fucking substance. You guys don't sit down and analytically look at everything that's put in front of you. You don't ask the questions that you should ask. And the questions that you do ask don't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. For example, a lot of y'all ask me, why did I care about the autopsy? Oh, we know what killed him. Well, for starters, when we got the autopsy report said that his rule is death for homicide, and that the chokehold, along with other factors, causes death. Now, that's pretty important, because if this goes to trial, they're going to argue that. Well, it wasn't the choke, because he was this, and he was this, and he was this. So that autopsy report becomes important. Not to mention, but that autopsy report, once you know it's a homicide, and once you know exactly what killed him, you know how you can charge him. So if the DA goes and charges him with tries to overcharge it, we have a problem. And if the DA tries to undercharge it, we have a problem. That's why the autopsy is important. But more importantly, when we look at these social issues, y'all Negroes love to talk about how it's a white cop this and a white cop that. And people always taking up for white folk. And y'all get all emotional and all butthurt because you don't have all the fucking facts and you refuse to engage with the fucking substance. And I mean, it doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't. And I'm saying this as a Catholic. You know, the guy that gets made fun of for following a religion that most people says doesn't make sense at all. But anyway, it just makes no damn sense to me as an individual how we sit here. Well, rather, not as an individual, as we. It makes no sense grammatically. But y'all will make all these egregious claims. Y'all will play this appeal to emotions card. Then you'll play this this snow pile thing, where you'll talk about all these other instances and try to bury it on top of each other to try to hide the real truth. And you'll talk about everything that doesn't matter. Let's look at the case of Eric Gardner. Technically, the man was resisting arrest. And technically, they did find cigarettes on him. In no way did people... does that change the fact that he was wrongfully killed? Which reminds me, y'all love to make straw man arguments. Y'all will sit there and say, well, you thought this because this is this, and you refuse to acknowledge this is this. And I really want to just cue that song from fucking The Wizard of Oz, If I Only Had a Brain. I really wish I could, because that's what the fuck y'all do every time, and it drives me up the fucking wall. I'm like, this is not possible. I mean, I'm at a loss for words. I don't know what to fucking say. Like, seriously. Who the fuck does this? Now, let me get back on what I'm saying, because this is turning into a rant. Even though this really is kind of a rant. Y'all pull all these fallacies out, but you don't engage the substance. You don't sit down and ask the questions of what really happened. How did this happen? What did he do? What did they do? Was there any point where we could have avoided the situation? Obviously, you'll say the police could have done this. But you'll never say, well, this person could have not resisted arrest. Or this person could have just left the area. Or this person could have done this. And when I say this person, I mean the perpetrator / victim here. And it's not to blame other people. I'm just saying, let's be realistic. If we're going to talk about fixing issues, we got to first learn to be fucking honest about what the fuck is going on with these issues. Because the reality is, a lot of you motherfuckers are very disingenuous. Just like the Young Turks, just like a lot of these so-called pro-blacks, hereafter known as the black supremacists. Y'all are some disingenuous motherfuckers, and it just doesn't make any damn sense, because how the fuck can you claim to care about black people, but you can't even be honest about the shit that black people do? And y'all favorite thing to do is to call people who disagree with you coons, sellouts, lick your white ass cracks clean. Fucking dumbasses. The lot of you that do that dumb shit. Dumbasses all. What really should happen in all these situations are, and here's my top picks. The very first thing is, the police commissioner needs to go. Like, Eric Gardner, as fucked up as I would say this, if it was just Eric Gardner, I would say it's an anomaly. And then you just deal with the officers and EMTs involved and make restitution to the family and drive the fuck on. But it's not that. And even though you will see video where countless people will show you portions of what actually happened. They won't show you from start to finish. The end result still is that somewhere along the line, the police use excessive force. And 4 out of 5 different instances I've seen in the last month. And that's just in social media. Number 2, I would like to see, at the very least, the governor get involved here. Personally, I would love for the U.S. Attorney General to come in as far as the Eric Gardner case and make sure that these guys get the fucking book thrown at them. I don't know how the feds get in. This, again, it's just my wish list. I would love to see the feds get in on this one and fuck this shit up for the entire city. And make it known and make an example of those individuals and let them know that you are to protect and serve the people, and this ain't tolerated. And because I know nobody likes getting people from the top involved in their shit, it'll make their fucking balls burn. Number 3. My next issue is, and this is more of a long-term thing, I do want to see some changes in the department. That rookie cops get paired off with veterans a lot more than they have been. Somebody to show them the ropes. There needs to be more stringent evaluations psychologically. There should be more services rendered for people who have anger issues. Because a lot of the times, these cops get angry because they feel their authority is being challenged. They feel some type of way. And in either which case, their pride turns to anger, and that anger turns into a raised fist, and then someone ends up with a bunch of fucking knots on their head, or in the case of Eric Gardner, dead. Number 4, I want to see what new policies Mayor de Blasio is going to put in place. And what I mean by new policies, because let's be honest, even I can't ignore this one. At a macro level, across citywide, blacks and Latinos are fucking profiled unfairly. And I had to do the research to really make sure I'm tracking it right. And I'm still doing the research. But at a macro level, black and Latino youth are targeted unfairly. And I think just changing programs like Stop and Frisk and a few other initiatives is not going to cut it. It's just not. Because you'll get rid of one initiative and secretly you'll launch another one. I really want to know, what are we going to do to actually keep the city streets safe, but not unfairly target people? It's just about the same thing when you go to the local airport. Noticeably, the Negro, the Spaniard, or Hispanic, the Asian, and the European, the Caucasoid, can all go on their planes without a hindrance. But as soon as you see an Arab or someone who is of Islamic faith walk in that airport, you single him out. That's no different than what happens here on the city streets. And I think in this city, I think it's fucked up. Because I thought it was innocent until proven guilty. And finally, I would like to see the police department as a whole reach out to the community. I think that for the actions of a handful of dumbasses, the entire department, thousands of good officers, have their reputations tarnished. I want to see the community work with the police department to make sure that these rat bag officers who are in positions of authority are ran out of the department. You're crooked, you're abusive, you got issues. We want to see you off the force immediately. Don't care how many, how many great collars you made and how many drug busts you got. If you're endangering the lives of the people you sworn to protect, what good are you? And to be honest with you, I'm saying this from the position of a man who took an oath, which regardless of whether I wear the uniform or not, I swore to protect the Constitution and to defend the American people from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. And in that regard, if we have rat bag officers threatening the citizens of New York, then in my mind, you are a terrorist. And you are an enemy of the American people, a domestic enemy. And it's my right and my duty to defend the citizens of the United States from you. While it's not advisable for me to pick up a gun and do so, it is within my right to bring the heat on to you and make sure we run your ass out of the fucking department. There's no place for you here. And I don't want to see good cops get their fucking names tarnished for an asshole. That's what I want to see happen. I don't know about y'all, but this is what I think the community should do. I think at this point, if you've seen this many amount of issues of police brutality, you can stop filming it and you need to start getting your asses on a march. If you're going to march somewhere, start marching places where it fucking counts. March your ass on the Borough Hall. March on the City Hall. March on the Wall Street. March on One Police Plaza. The District Attorney's Office. Instead of just taking the recordings of the video, start going down to your congressional district. Hell, I'll be honest with you. If people who have interest of it right now, we could do this shit on Friday. Friday, matter of fact. Friday morning, we could get together and we'll march over to fucking city council's office. Right up there. And we will demand to speak to the city council. I know y'all ain't hearing me, but I'm serious. If y'all care about it that much, let's do that. Let's get together Friday morning, 1000 hours. We'll meet downtown Brooklyn, right at Borough Hall. And we'll march our asses all the way to the city council. And make our voices heard. We can do that. We should start pushing our local congressional leaders, state senators, whatever we got to do. But let's make sure that whatever we do, we exercise common sense and logic. And just so you know, when you come to this channel trying to find solutions, trying to find ways to get change, you need to understand one simple motherfucking thing first. Change starts with one.